Welcome to the Quebec and New England Railroad Southern Division HO Layout video number 82. This video series follows the efforts of the Q&NE Mechanical Department in converting a fully assembled and painted Intermountain GP10 into Q&NE GP10 number 70. Part 3, removing lettering and the antenna, but first, an update on the handrails.
As you recall, we had an issue with our handrails and removing them from the model. You can see how the ends were damaged on some of them. And so I got a hold of Intermountain and asked them if they could send me replacement handrails, and they said sure. Only a couple bucks, it wasn't expensive. Actually, the postage was probably 3 times the cost of the handrail set itself. So here we are. Here's the box I received from them. I explained to them that I'm starting from scratch basically with my own paint scheme. So if they happen to have a set of handrails that were actually black and not orange, and even better if they had one that perhaps had yellow end rails, that would be fabulous. So let's just see what they sent us. Oh, unfortunately, they only sent us the end pieces. Oh, jeez. I'm going to have to call them back. Oh, well. Taking a leap of faith here that Intermountain's going to come through with the balance of the handrails. I've started to loosen the end handrails here, and this one came off quite easily. I haven't tried this one yet. You have to be careful because there is a touch of glue in them. You can risk having it pop out or not pop out, or slicing the little nib off if you're not careful. But with patience and slowly prying with a blade, you'll find that they will slowly come out. And in the worst case, if you do have to slice it off, you can ream it out with a drill bit. See, that one came out easily. You can ream them out. Oh, there you go. These guys came out. Just a bit of wiggling. That one's out. If I have to slice it off, I will. But I'd rather keep the holes there. So we're going to keep trying and hopefully get it off. Well, came off, but did have to sacrifice the nibs. You can see how much glue was used to hold these on. Really wasn't necessary to use that much. Anyway, I'm going to scrape off the glue and ream them out with my small drill bit. So we'll be ready, hopefully, when we receive the new handrail set from Intermountain. Fortunately, there are markers on the underside of the frame where you can get the drill bits in. It's not too difficult, but not straightforward. You got to hold the bottom of the drill bit like this. There you go, in focus. And give it a turn till it pops through the other side. Just with a little bit of gentle pressure. So 3 of the nibs were lost on this side and only 1 on the other side. As always, patience. This one here we have to drill out from the front because you can't get in underneath the stairwells. So just do this. And there we have it, 4 holes on this end and 4 holes on that end, ready for new handrails. Alright, we were successful in getting the number boards out. Quite a bit of glue residue to clean up. You can see that too on the pieces that came out. So they'll need to be cleaned up, but I much prefer to have the painting going on without having too much masking. As I said before, this lens though, there's no way to get that out as far as I can tell. So I'm gonna have to mask those tiny pieces of masking tape. Next thing to have a look at is the numbers. I've started here and it looks like the numbers scrape off quite easily without actually scratching the paint below. So I'm going to take my time and see about removing all the lettering. Like I said at the start of this project, one of the reasons I chose this paint scheme is there's very little lettering to remove, so that will leave this nice orange as a base coat, or primer if you will, for the red that's going to go on top of it. So very little lettering to remove, basically the two ICG logos, the numbers, and the logo on the nose. So I think that's going to work out quite well. The only other thing I think I need to do is remove this piece on the roof, and it doesn't look like there's any mounting holes through the roof, so I think I can carefully cut that off, sand it smooth, and we'll be good to go. You might notice here in the background some of the windows that didn't want to come out. One of them has a crack in it, so I've put it on a piece of tape for now just to make sure it stays together, so I can remount that back in once everything's painted. And as a safety precaution, I did it to this one as well, as looks like it's a small crack. Hopefully those won't be too noticeable when we reassemble. So a lot of cleaning left to do on the parts and where the parts came out of, and we're almost done. I just happened to be sitting here at my desk staring at some pencil erasers, and I thought, maybe I don't want to risk scratching that. And lo and behold, whatever they used, Intermountain, it comes off with erasers, so that's a fairly easy removal job. I mean, you got to sit here and have patience like everything else, but certainly with an eraser, there's much less chance of gouging out the plastic or the paint underneath. So I'm going to move forward on that and show you when it's done. Well, that didn't take very long at all. Very easy combination of very light scraping and using a pencil eraser. There's now no trace of lettering on any part of the model. So next, taking off this. Well, it was easy enough to cut off this antenna, I guess is what it was, from the top of the cab using the saw here. So we'll have to trim the rest with a sharp blade to get it to conform to the profile, and perhaps a little bit of sanding to smooth it out completely. Hopefully no putty is required, but I do have some, so if necessary, we'll do that. Well, we got it off and scraped it down to the contour of the cab roof. It feels smooth, but you can see in the light it's not quite perfect, so I'm going to have to get some sandpaper out and maybe a touch of filler putty. But not bad at all. Alright, I had to go at it with this 400 grit sandpaper. It does a fine job of just taking a little bit of paint off, or a portion of a layer of paint off, or other minor bumps, and it it really does feel smooth now. I even wanted to, I wasn't crazy about the way this part is attached to the cab, and there was a bit of a line or bump here, so it feels a whole lot smoother now. I'm going to give it a test shot of rattle can primer just to see how it looks, and if I feel it needs another bit of sanding, I'll do that. But at least by touch, it feels fairly smooth. So I don't think I'm going to need body putty, but I've got some of that here just in case. Hoping we won't have to use it. So all in all, I think we're real close. As mentioned before, I wanted to see how good a sanding job I did on the cab before going any further. So I gave the cab a very light dusting of primer gray, and I'm satisfied that the roof line is smooth where we had the antenna before. You still can see a bit of the mold lines where the edge of this separate piece for the number boards is connected. That's funny because you don't feel it with your finger, but you do see it slightly. It's better than it was before, and I may just leave that. It's not too bad. Before we are ready for painting, there's a couple of details we have to remember to add. The cab has pre-drilled holes for sunshades, and the frame has holes pre-drilled for the platforms that run between locomotives when they're coupled. You can, I suspect you can put them in, no, there's 4 in here, so you can either have it in the down position or in the up position. By experience, it's better to have them in the up position because when they're in the down position, they might interfere with trying to uncouple when you're switching. So I'm going to put these in the up position, and then we'll be ready for painting, I think. Well, nothing is ever as easy as it sounds. Turns out that these little holes here need to be reamed out a little bit because they're not quite wide enough for the pins on the ends of the sunshades. So we'll drill through a little bit. And that one. And that one. And then this should fit in. There you see, even one side's still not deep enough. I could push it in, but I'd better ream it out some more. Let's try that again. There we go. There. It's snug, but I'm going to put a drop of, tiny drop, not even a drop. Just going to touch the nibs with some glue to hold it in place. Barely a drop. There. There we go. So that's done. And there we have the finished piece. glued in place on both sides. Now I think all these wonderful parts are ready for the paint shop. Mustn't forget that some of the parts we took out that had paint on them, that is to say the coupler pockets, which are black on the Q&NE, also need to be painted, so we mustn't forget about those when we go to the paint shop. A little bit of a postscript here. As I was editing the video on a large computer screen, turns out I wasn't quite so happy with what I saw on the small screen on the phone. So taking a closer look, it needed another round of sanding, which I did, and it feels like glass now. So I'm hoping it's good enough after this additional sanding. I think I've gotten rid of more of this mold line here, or this seam between these two parts, and I really can't feel anything where the antenna was. So I'll give it one more blast of primer just to be sure, and then we're really on the way to the paint shop for the red and the black. Here with another fresh coat of primer. See, I think we've done a better job of hiding those seam lines. You reach a point where you say it's good enough, and I think that's it.
Well, that's it for part 3. Coming up in part 4, spray painting.